I said that incorrectly, you can always call, if not Robocop because he doesn't exist. Or you know what? Robocop might not be assigned a gender if they really came to be a reality at this point now too. I think they'd be genderless, as I would think cyborgs would be, but then again, I'm sure there's a whole subreddit somewhere or deep dark hole of the internet where they've reimagined cyborg robot porn anime where they're definitely assigned a gender because there's a cyborg somewhere with like humongous tits slapping a civilian in the face and telling them to stand down or drop the weapon or your move, creep, whatever. But that's the internet. No surprise there. The internet's going to internet always. But Robocop, 35 years later, 1987 release. Listen, first things first, we got to address the apparent rumors, now apparently confirmed after many, many years after the fact. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of all people, was supposed to be, well, no, not supposed to be, but in the runnings to be the OG Robocop, which instead went to Peter Weller. Shout outs to him. Did an excellent job in this first version. I believe he did the second one too, and I don't remember, don't quote me, but I think he didn't do Robocop 3. And I know he definitely didn't do the TV series version of Robocop. At one point, it could have been Arnold, of all things. Now, would that have made sense? I think it could have. And it almost did happen. But literally, they stopped it short. They cut that out because they said the guy who was in charge of drawing up the schematics of what Robocop would look like physically said the dimensions, the thickness, the girth, of Arnold's body was way too much to have a costume made for, or let alone have him fitted into, where he would have looked ridiculous and, or quote, he would have looked like the Michelin Man. Or he would have looked like the, what's the bad guy from Ghostbusters? The big, fat, puffy guy? He would have looked like that in the whole armor getup of Robocop, the costume and shit too. So to be exact, quote, the issue was when the suit's designer, Rob Bottin, funny enough, his name is Bot, B-O-T. His last name is Bot, and he's making a movie about Robocop. Or he's the suit designer. Robert Bottin started drawing the suit to Arnold Schwarzenegger's proportions, which Salmon claims made him look like, quote, the Michelin Man. The Arnold Schwarzenegger version of Robocop was, quote, too exaggerated and bulky, to the point where he looked both indestructible and ridiculous. That makes a lot of sense, because this is prime, peak Arnold bod, as far as, the Terminator was dumb thick, as far as the musculature and all that he had going on in his physical frame. It would have been too much. There's no way they had all that steel, metal, whatever, carbon fiber they used to put together, slap together the Robocop costume to fit all that man. I don't think Arnold was that tall. I think he might have been like, 6'2", 6'3" at most, but still, like at least, a solid 260, 270 is just straight up muscle. So trying to compact all that shit into a Robocop or cyborg, police officer uniform would have been like stuffing a can of Spam and trying to pass that off as something appealing, which it wouldn't have been believable. It would have looked like a B movie at best, of a robotic police officer making the rounds. And on top of that too, I want to say that's a good reason too for not making Arnold Robocop, which I think it could have worked. It may have. But I think the other thing to his disadvantage might have been the speech. As far as Terminator is concerned, he has little to no lines. Terminator 1, 2, and all the other fucking Terminators they made since that he's returned for, unfortunately. The accent was really, listen, muscles were busting out of Arnold. No question there. The accent was on point as far as there was no hiding that fucking thing. To the point where it got endearing, and we've all made fun of or imitated the Arnold accent. But imagine him delivering as many lines as he did as Robocop with that accent too, as Sergeant Murphy, when he was human and then fucking converts into Robocop out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, but he's forced to become Robocop, as we'll allude to later. I found the reason why, or how, we could have even avoided Robocop, period. But again, we'll get to that later too. Arnold's voice and accent, I don't think would have been believable as Robocop 2. It would have been too annoying to put up with, because you're in the middle of old Detroit, where it's set. Detroit's as run down, as messy, as gritty, dirty, depressing, crime riddled as it is, and on top of it, they got someone plopped dead in the middle in a robotic suit with a fucking faceplate over him, talking in a really deep Austrian, German, wherever he's from again, accent. You need to stop in the name of the law. I'm Robocop. You know, who's going to believe him? First off, they're not going to understand him. And in their defense, if there's even like the court system, if there's even like a legal system that stands in old Detroit, you know, in future Detroit, whatever the fuck it is, in the setting of Robocop, imagine going up to the judge and your only defense as far as you committing the crime is like, Your Honor, as a criminal, a reformed criminal, I've done some things in the past. It's old Detroit. What do you want me to do out there? It's like the Wild West out there. What do you want me to do when I'm being stereotyped as a black man roaming the streets of old Detroit? I just happened to be passing by the pawn shop. The glass display was broken. I just reached in to touch the TV to turn the volume down because I got a hearing aid here if you can't see. And he just so happened to walk up on me and started speaking this German shit that I couldn't understand. And the next thing I know, I'm in handcuffs, face down on the ground. And here I am now, Your Honor. Is that fair to me? And then Robocop's, like, he's got to be one of those cops that actually show up to fucking the court dates when you're trying to dispute a ticket or whatever. Robocop, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Robocop shows up. Your Honor, I have evidence to play back for you in the court to show that this man was robbing the TB. I mean, listen, it's hilarious to think of. It's a great scenario to like really put forth, but that really would have taken away from the movie being potentially as good as it was now, or as infamously sincere as it was in its, you know, dramatic points that we remember it fondly for. It would have been a B movie at best, and it would have been something we would have been parodying till now, at most, with Arnold doing Robocop. So I think, yes, Arnold would have looked ridiculous in the costume, as they're saying to here the reason why he didn't get ultimately casted and they went with Peter Weller instead. And pause, they also said Peter Weller got the role because he had appealing, attractive lips, which is going to be, for the most part, what people mostly see throughout the movie because he got the goddamn visor on his head, right? Besides that, though. All right, finally. So here we are with Robocop. So 1987. Recapping Robocop, basically. All right, so it's about a guy named, I believe, Alex Murphy, right? Officer gets transferred over to old Detroit. This is a futuristic setting, of course, but the future in the 80s, they didn't have flying cars. They didn't have, like, crazy elaborate shit like they promised us, or they got our, you know, dick wet with, like in Back to the Future, flying cars and hoverboards, all this shit, jetpacks, whatever. No. It's really all about where I think we're going ultimately. I don't get political on here, but I think ultimately we're going to have a surprise out of nowhere stockpile of weapons, weaponry, getting really advanced and high tech like that. Big ass guns, cities going to shit because, you know, corporations, the conglomerates, big government worried more about their internal defense within inside the country more than external. Who the fuck knows? Nukes and all that shit. Who the fuck knows, honestly? But point is, old Detroit's gone to shit, crime riddled. At one point, one of the guys says basically the city has a cancer. Its fucking crime rate always rising and growing and all that too. Old Detroit, Alex Murphy, he gets transferred over to old Detroit to become one more cop and or one more body potentially, because the city is so rowdy and disgusting and wild that cops are dropping like flies out there. So he's out there to make the rounds to contribute to fucking replace someone they lost, which is the first news story they cover to open the movie with, which is interesting, which is really cool. They don't waste time going to the title screen. Robocop gets thrown at your face, and then right after that you get a news coverage story. You know, Officer Franklin, who gives a shit, dad murdered in old Detroit, no surprise. So they bring in Murphy as his replacement, his other fucking body to fill his suit, basically. He gets transferred in. He's making the rounds. He gets introduced to fucking Lewis's partner. They team up. They make the rounds. One bad day is all it took as far as Alex Murphy becoming Robocop's concerned. So while they're making the rounds in a steel mill factory, an abandoned steel mill factory in Detroit of all places, that's when shit goes wrong. That's when I think if you got a partner in crime, well, you two aren't doing the crime, but partners as far as the saying goes in crime, but you're cops, your backup. They call for backup, but the police system is so watered down as far as they got no bodies, or nobody wants to be another body. Basically, they say, oh, backup won't be there until like 20 minutes later, so go fuck yourself till then. All right, Lewis and Murphy go in. Murphy's a brave cop. He's got this whole, I guess, hard on for the fantasy his son made up in his head about, oh, daddy, I love cops. I love this one, TV show cop that like does twirly things with his gun and looks so fucking cool. So to appease to his son, he does the same fucking twirly gun trick. That'll come up later in the movie as well too. And he goes in guns blazing. He busts in on 2 criminals, heavy into drugs, shoots one dead, leaves the other one there to like have him shook and be like, I shot your buddy dead, asshole. You're fucking next unless you come with me. And dead or alive, you're coming with me. That's when we get our first little taste of that infamous line from the movie. It'll come up again in reference later on too. Makes a big mistake, calling for backup. Backup's still not coming. Calls for his other legit backup, Lewis. Lewis still ain't to be found. She's too busy, looking at the lengthy, girthy, big black cock that's just dangling in front of her because she walked up on the one guy that was taking a piss in the corner in the steel mill factory and still can't detain his ass because she got too tempted. But then Murphy, next thing you know, he's surrounded by a room full of fucking criminals. We're introduced to fucking Clarence, the head guy, aka the dad, I believe, from That 70s Show. Not a big fan of that show, never really got into it, but, shout out to Mila Kunis, always a piece of ass. Chef's kiss to her, and good on you, Ashton Kutcher finally ended up with her. It only took you long enough, but whatever. You had to go through Demi Moore while she was still kind of like hanging in there, kind of still well put together for her 50s or 40s whenever he got her, but, did that, then went to Mila Kunis. So, I guess you can clap that up. We're men at the end of the day. We're guilty of different things, I guess, right? So he gets shot up. He gets blasted. He gets obliterated. He gets massacred in a room full of fucking criminals, only to get still shot in the head. One shot, clean to the dome. Still not dead. He's still hanging on by a fucking thread. Or a cybernetic thread, since he's like half cyborg afterwards. Because they take his body, they transport it via helicopter to somewhere else in Detroit. If you're already in Detroit, I don't know what the helicopter's really doing to like save time or gas to get you to the hospital, but they do that for his body. Take him over there. They're trying to do everything they can. They're trying to slap him awake. They're trying to cut him open. They're trying to replace organs. They're trying to fucking do all this and that shit too. They do the static shock shit. No, sorry, electric shock. I don't think we're made of static, but they try to shock him back to life. Bzz, clear, nothing. Dead at 6:15 that same afternoon. Pronounced dead. But because he apparently signed up as a cop, as part of Old Detroit, they said basically, all right, we got a body here. He's officially legally dead. We can pick at him, take him apart, because we on the low, OCP, in trying to build Delta City, said, you know what? We need bodies, because while they got the ED-209 big ass like bird kind of walking like robot that's going to fail, as we've seen in the movie later on, and we'll talk about too as well. One of the other guys too, Bob or something like that, he says, fuck that robot. It's too stupid looking and sounds illiterate, even though it knows all the fucking law possible. We're gonna fucking make Robocop, which is basically they need a body. Perfect timing. Alex Murphy shot dead. Well, surprisingly the way he got shot, hand blown off, arm blown off, body's like Swiss cheese at this point, like a block of Swiss cheese. Not even like a strip, like a single slice of Swiss cheese. He's like a whole block of just Swiss cheese, just like a big moldy box just full of holes. He's a dead body, taken apart like that too. They slap him together. They say, you know what, this is going to be Robocop. They take him apart. They put fucking robotic parts on him, make him a cyborg. Robocop is born. Next thing you know, Robocop's making the fucking rounds. He's doing his fucking thing best he can as a Robocop, as a cyborg cop, I guess it should be cyborg cop, but Robocop sounds better, easier to roll off the tongue too. I get it. We got Robocop. He's making the rounds. He's kicking ass. He's breaking bones. He's killing motherfuckers if need be in the, defense of holding up the law and shit too. He's got 3 primary objectives: uphold the law, ensure the security of the fucking common people, and I forget what other fucking thing too. But there's a 4th objective that's classified private that we don't know about till way later on, and it makes sense why. He's making the rounds. At one point, there's the one guy he left alive of the 2 criminals he first ran up on when he was a human still, that, remembers him when he was a human. We killed you. Starts getting flashbacks, nightmares. As a cyborg, he's getting nightmares and shit too, right? Starts remembering who he is, starts piecing together all these different things, like he was kind of pieced together too to become Robocop. And he's like, wait a second, there's got to be more to this than just rap and or scrap metal parts they use to put me together, make me a robotic cop. He starts investigating. When that guy says, we killed you, you're dead, he's like, wait a second, let me do my research. Let me go on Wikipedia real quick. Robocop, huh? Finds out about himself, finds out about his fucking life, and he finds out he's dead. Because they weren't just nightmares, they weren't just dreams. They was legit memories that happened to him, random access memory files, RAM, literally running and processors through his fucking head. I feel like Daft Punk going on at this point, right? But he remembers finally, he remembers his family, his wife and child, all that shit too. Now he's got a purpose. He's got to hunt down the redheaded guy that seems to just be able to avoid all kinds of death, no matter what he goes through, getting shot at, spilling off a fucking bike, pretty nasty, running into a park. Well, okay, Robocop did shoot his fucking tank and his fucking wheel out, so he crashed and burned into a parked car and flew off and skidded off, and I don't know how he lived through that shit too, but we'll see what happens to him at the end. Robocop starts to remember everything too, so now he's on a manhunt, or a cyborg robotic manhunt, for Clarence, the head drug lord of all Detroit. Clarence is too busy and fucking trying to get pussy and coke, and making the rounds as the big cheese all around town too. Catches up with him, he gives up the goods, he says, you goddamn cocksucker. Well, I don't know how a robot could be a cocksucker, but still, you cocksucker, I work for Dick Jones. He's the big cheese over at OCP. He runs the cops. He owns the cops. Then, obviously, he goes to say, well, if he's the big boss in charge, let me arrest his ass, his corporate office schmuck-looking ass, up in his headquarters. He goes up there, and then we find out objective number 4. You cannot arrest an OCP higher-up, white-collar ass motherfucker. He tries to, he's getting shut down internally because they had a backup defense system in case Robocop ever goes rogue. And that is scary to think because, this AI shit, all that too. Google had a scare like that, I think a year ago, was in the news. Like, someone had developed some AI program to self-develop and learn and teach itself different things. And it got so developed and advanced to the point where it was starting to basically turn itself on without anybody having to input anything for it. And it was starting to learn languages and different things, trying to better understand things too much in depth, where they had to shut it down completely because it was just learning at such a rapid pace. It was really freaking them out, again, to the point where it was like turning itself on to just keep getting more information, more and more smarter, basically. So they knew enough, OCP or Dick Jones, to have the protocol, the backup plan to, if he tries to arrest me or anybody in OCP, shut down immediately. You can't do that shit, you fucking big bucket of bolts, asshole, whatever. So as a backup plan, he's got ED-209, the original prototype of what they wanted to be like the robotic cop on patrol, to hunt his ass down. They got a big fight in the office going on too. He's able to fucking escape the big walking dinosaur chicken, metallic chicken on legs, basically. But he's really beat up. And on top of that, he's trying to make it out the fucking OCP building. He's got all the old Detroit's police force practically up his ass, shooting at him, ping, 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 poo, 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 whatever. Shooting him up, trying to turn him into fucking robotic Swiss cheese or something. It's like they were shooting at the fucking deli slicer with the big block of Swiss cheese, cutting away at it, and maybe cut all the slices too thick, and they're coming back to take revenge, basically. I guess these cops must have been Italian. They wanted, mortadella and fucking mozzarella instead of goddamn Swiss. But they're shooting at his ass. The only cop, the only one that saves him is fucking Lewis, his partner. Remembering who he is, of course. Murphy. She's the one that knows all along, this whole time. Fucking, it's a Detective Murphy, Officer, whatever the fuck he's, Officer Murphy. Saves his ass. They go to the old steel mill, trying to put him back together. He takes off his fucking visor to show his whole ass face. Trying to remember how to fucking recalibrate his aiming sensors and system and whatnot too. It's all crazy, but he's able to put himself together enough. They got a tracking device anyway on Robocop the whole time. The bad guys, Clarence, Dick Jones gives up the goods. He says, hey, take this fucking damn near army level weaponry, proton and blasters, all that too, and take his ass out because he knows too much. He's going to give up all the goods on me, so just get to the steel mill now. They go after him. It's a manhunt. It's a robot manhunt for Robocop of all things. He lures them in. He's able to strategize properly. Him and fucking Lewis, two heads are better than one, even if one head is metal. But still, they're able to fucking outmaneuver, outsmart all the fucking bad guys. They bring him in together. There's a lot of fucking blood. There's a lot of gore and shit too. He makes his way back to OCP to finally try to arrest Dick Jones, making a presentation, midway do another presentation of ED-209. He's been able to fucking tinker with it, updated software, make it more presentable, more sexy, because Robocop went rogue and bad because of course he was part human, so he got too much in his feelings like Drake would if he was Robocop. Imagine Drake is Robocop. Oh god, that'd be a mess. But or only in Canada. But he busts through mid-presentation. I'm here to arrest Dick Jones. You are under arrest. He can't do it still though, because obviously there's a protocol. You can't arrest an OCP higher up until he shows the evidence of where he confessed in a pre-tape recording to the other guy who invented Robocop. I had to kill you because you stole the spotlight from me. You made Robocop. You made my ED-209, metallic chicken robot thing look ridiculous. You made me look like a real dick, as in my name, Dick Jones. So I gotta kill you. And he got blown up with a grenade and that shit too. So it was basically all the evidence needed for the head cheese, the big fucking old man at OCP, to be like, you're fired, Dick Jones. And officially that frees him with a protocol which says he can't arrest him since he's no longer OCP. Upon hearing you're fired, he's able to fucking blast him until he's fucking practically like another block of Swiss cheese. He falls out the window, he's dead. Cut to the fucking end, and then you got the old man saying, nice shooting, son, what's your name? Turns around, Murphy. Dun, 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 and all the whole fucking thing plays, right? That's the whole synopsis of Robocop. Now, there's some points I wrote down as far as what I wanted to bring up with Robocop. Robocop, if it's on TV, randomly I'll go back to it every so often just because I love this movie so much. Because you get so much out of it too. It's over the top bloody, almost to the point where, okay, how much blood, how much prop blood, thank God, was invested into this movie to make this shit like as bloody as it was, as gory, as gritty as it was too. But it's kind of like part of its charm too. Because you would think like if it's dealing in street crime and drugs and like a whole underworld and corruption as huge as it is with OCP, and like they're funding the police force secretly and they just want to do it at the end of the day to really fund their high-tech, unnecessarily over-the-top violent robots, basically. It's part of the charm of the film. And yeah, absolutely, that's a good point too. It's a great movie with a crazy premise. This movie should have been terrible, ideally, based off the fucking title alone. Robocop, of all things. I would think B-movie at best. I would think, who the fuck knows who these actors are, which honestly, at this point too, I don't know Peter Weller, what he did up until leading to Robocop, so no offense, forgive me for not knowing that, but he did his job well. He did it really well. And again, had it been Arnold, I think it would have been too ridiculous, or we would have been too caught up on like, what's an Austrian doing in the middle of Detroit in the future, and why wouldn't he program his voice to lose the accent or something like that? But that's just me. That's me head scratching too much, based off a crazy premise, already crazy premise. It really should have been bad, ideally, Robocop, if you think about it. But ultimately, it becomes something that's surprisingly deep, yes, very bloody, yes, very gritty, but also funny when it wants to be too. Not forced, not like, oh, we're going to force this joke in because it's up with the times, or it's making reference to something that just happened in the news we can make fun of. No, it's just its own organically funny when it wants to be. It needs to be too. Not so much needs to be. When it wants to be funny, it's funny legitimately. With the parodies of the fucking newscasts, with the fucking parodies of the commercials. The commercials alone are worth watching. The ones they parody, with the car commercials, with the battleship commercials, the one guy always popping in and out with the fucking I'd buy that for $1. That actually looks like a good ass show. God forbid we can do that anymore now with cancel culture, with an old guy, you know, playing around with like pretty blondes with big tits on TV and just like, you know, doing stupid, like, I don't know, dad jokes or whatever. That'd be a great show to have if you're Spanish and you know what I'm talking about, most likely with like Sábado Gigante, Don Francisco. That was a variety show, Saturday evenings, always on Univision Channel 41 here in New York. Basically like 4 hours of him doing little interviews, little segments, games with fucking audience members too, but mostly his favorite part was interviewing random ass models with incredible fucking bodies, spoke no English of course, but he'd be able to like press up on them, dance with them, flirt with them. Or my favorite part, even growing up as a child, before I even hit puberty and like my hormones and my voice kicked in obviously, my favorite part is when he'd had them randomly stand up mid-interview, mid-chat, and be like, just give us, turn around, give us like a 360 real quick too, and we'd be able to check out the ass and the titties, and they're obviously really tight dressed too. I think that'd be a fun show, but not in today's culture. It'd be canceled immediately. It'd make it halfway through a season 1 if possible, before someone complains about, like some fat heifer complains about, oh, this is demeaning the women, demoralizing too. We've advanced so much since then. You know, listen, Roe vs. Wade, the whole craziness going on with that is insane enough, but I digress. I like that they acknowledge at least that the crime is such a cancer almost in old Detroit. And Murphy was transferred from a nice, really low-key kind of town to old Detroit because they were losing so many cops at that point. It was basically, I think they summed it up by saying, oh, we just lost 5 last week, which I think even today, I don't know honestly how many, you know, shout out to all the police officers out there, how many get lost in the line of fire weekly. I'd hate to think it's more than 1 or 2 here in New York or anywhere else, but I think 5 a week would be alarming, even if there's like however many thousands of currently uniformed officers on the beat per se. 5 a week, 20 a month roughly, times 10, 200 a year, 2 more months than that, like just under 250 officers a year getting murked, killed on the streets like that. That'd still be crazy. Even if it was regularly fucking human beings, it'd be crazy. But to lose officers at that rate would be alarming. So I would think, yeah, why not have them transfer over fucking obviously safer, low-key, nothing going on whatsoever cities, because we need the bodies literally to fill into the fucking uniforms and get out there back on the streets, because we're losing guys like that. So why not? That seems crazy. And also because obviously because of the fear of losing more officers at an even higher rate, if possible more than 5 a week, they're threatening from very early on in the movie to go on strike. They're talking about a strike. They're talking about unionizing, going on strike, because we can't take it no more. We're losing too many guys out there. And the sergeant, the black sergeant, thank God they have black sergeants back then in the 80s too, at least at the head of a fucking really shitty city as is, but still, whatever. He tells them basically, we're officers, not plumbers. We don't go on strike, because if we go on strike, as, you know, underpowered as we are right now, the city's going to eat itself alive if we're not there to protect it. Some way, somehow, obviously. The funniest part of the movie, let's be honest, if you've watched this, if you haven't, we get introduced to ED 209. That's the first robotic police patrol, whatever thing they try to introduce to what's soon to be Delta City, the city they're trying to build to improve the image of old Detroit, because they want to employ like 1 million, 2 million something new people to bring into the city to help build the city, but at the same time help literally build the city up, Delta City, in the future, right? So they introduced Dick Jones, like the second in command in OCP. He's like ED 209. They got this big robotic metal chicken on legs with Tourette's and fucking knows a whole law library and a very deep robotic Tron voice. And on top of that, missiles if all else fails. Or blow them the fucking Kalamazoo, if anything, if they don't want to cooperate with us. To patrol the streets, basically. In the first part, the very opening of the movie, he's introducing it, he's showing it off to the office, a whole fucking board meeting full of people in white collars and shit. And he basically gives a guy a gun to be like, hey, hold this fucking gun, point it at the thing right here, and, you know, pretend you're going to break the law. The thing activates, you have 20 seconds to cooperate or I'm going to blast you to smithereens, you stupid bitch, whatever. He does cooperate, obviously, because he's not a criminal. He doesn't want to die. He hands over the gun and shit, too. The thing's still counting down. You have 15 seconds. You have 10 seconds. Everybody's panicking, losing this shit. The countdown makes it to 0, and then this guy fucking randomly gets blasted to death in the fucking office at the top level. Dead, pretty much, like, obviously. So the guy gets shot to death because of ED-209. ED-209 for like at least a good 20-something seconds is just blasting. He's just a fucking corpse at this point. He's like a pile of gel, a red-colored jello. Just basically body shaking with every bullet that fucking hits his body and shit. Can't help it. He's convulsing even though he's dead and shit. So I would just wonder how many packets of fake blood was involved in making that scene as bloody, as gritty as possible. It's still awesome, and I still laugh when I watch that part, because he's literally just laying there. Not the guy, but of course the prop body, I would hope. The prop body's just laying there fucking just shaking and shaking, just taking fucking bullets for like 20 minutes. They shoot, the body's still getting shot in the background. The head fucking guy at OCP's just like shaking his head literally in disappointment and disgust, like, this thing's gonna cost us millions to fucking even try to revamp and redo all over again, you stupid schmuck, or whatever. And on top of that, when the thing finally gets shut down, they rip out the motherboard from the remote control, and it finally powers down. Then they're like, call the goddamn paramedic, whatever. But yeah, the guy was already being shot at for like a minute straight with nothing but bullets straight at his fucking torso. So every vital organ possible, when they fucking take it out of the body, because they're going to try to donate the organs to somebody, it's going to be full of fucking holes. It's going to have fucking air hissing out of it like they were goddamn deflated balloons and shit. But of course, ED-209 did his job a little too well, and that's the threat of having a fully robotic thing take over, or take commands but not know when to stop, or not fully comprehend the commands it's supposed to be upholding all time, or ideally the law in this case. But ED-209, that's when Bob, not Dick. That's when Bob, the guy that creates Robocop, swoops in after he sees Dick Jones fail, and he's like, listen, that shit fucked up, I get it, I got something even better for you, and I'll have it up and running in 90 days or less. And hence we get Robocop. But Clarence proves to be a real dick as a boss. Now listen, yes, he is the head of fucking guys that rob banks and rob old ladies and fucking kill just to have fun and shit too, as we'll see later on. But he proves to be an absolute dick, because when they're getting chased down by Lewis and Murphy while Murphy's still human, he gives the redhead orders, who's driving the truck after they just rob a bank, to slow down, because he makes the remark of, oh, we can't outrun him in this fucking truck, there's no way. So Clarence says, slow down. He's like, slow down? What do you mean slow down? We're sitting gooses if we slow down and shit. Proving how much of an absolute dick of a boss he'd be in the corporate world, let alone as a fucking crime lord. He starts punching and slapping and kicking a guy while he's fucking driving the truck. He says, shut the fuck up and do what I say, you stupid piece of shit, god damn you. I get it, you're frustrated, you're upset with giving a clear and precise order, which, as odd as it sounds, you'd expect the guy to do, but is there really a need to punch, slap, and let alone kick a guy while he's driving? That's dangerous. You could have killed yourself, you could have taken it all unexpectedly, swerved off the road, and then we get no fucking rest of the movie, basically. But he's kicking the guy while he's sitting down and driving to really make his fucking point. I'm fucking out at that point. I'm fucking parking it. I'm pulling the emergency brake. I'm running out of there, because I can't take a boss that's gonna, emotionally damage me like that by kicking me, of all things, while I'm driving, just because I won't immediately give in to his orders like that. Or imagine You work an office job, and because you hand in a report late, your boss starts fucking slapping and punching and kicking you at your fucking chair because you were late, or you held up a whole report he had due like Friday 3 o'clock, and it's like 5 o'clock, you still ain't nowhere near done with it. You piece of shit, god damn it, I told you I needed that shit by 2:59, motherfucker. I can't take that. First thing I'm fucking going to is HR immediately ASAP. Like, what the fuck is this? Do I work in a zoo? Do I work with the fucking chimpanzees or what? I'm getting kicked at for. Alright. But also, here's an interesting part. Now we get to the part where Murphy becomes Robocop. You know, not by choice, by force, basically. To be exact, at 17 minutes and 30 seconds, if you watch the movie. Listen, I think I see why. I always knew why, and I'm sorry in advance to not to be purposely offensive or be sexist, but I think this is proof clear enough at 17 minutes and 30 seconds into the movie. You'll see why. This is proof enough why you don't leave women in charge of life-altering decisions, because after chasing these guys in the truck, they get away because literally when the guys got like shot at, they just grab them, throw them at the fucking windshield of Lewis and Murphy. So they're detoured. They're able to make it to the old steel mill. We'll see the old steel mill more in, later on in the film. But they're detoured. They get the whereabouts of where they're at. Old steel mill. Okay, let's make it out there. Lewis and Murphy. They go out there. Again, it's 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Murphy calls in for backup. Radios in. Hey, we need backup. We're at the old steel mill. We got these like 5-6 assholes ready to pounce on them. We gotta arrest them. They tell him basically, okay, 20 minutes or so before you get back up. It's like fucking ordering dominoes. 20 minutes or less, we'll be there. If not, you're pretty much dead. Sorry about that. Tough tits kind of thing. He makes a mistake apparently. We could have prevented Robocop from even existing, or at least him being Robocop. We could have prevented it all because he gets the clear order. Okay, let's sit tight. Let's strategize. He's probably thinking this the whole time. So he's showing his potential as a good, smart cop. Let's sit here. Let's strategize, or let's wait for backup 20 minutes or so, hopefully cross our fingers and shit, or let's cross pistols and make sure like it really goes through our wish here of backup. Instead, he's too much of a gentleman, of a good guy. I wouldn't say simp because she's not worth simping over. No offense to Lewis or whatever her name was in real life, but you know what? You know what it is. Him being a gentleman, him being a nice guy, trying to be a good partner. Instead of going through what I think he was thinking of, just sitting back, waiting for backup, and then busting in, he says, "You call it," to Lewis. Meaning, what do you feel like doing, honey? Or when you take your girl out, you take your wife out, whatever. What do you feel like having, honey? And then it opens up Pandora's box of, I don't know. My period just came and passed. I don't know what I'm in the mood for. What my palate, you think we should try this place down the corner? Oh, I heard, the waitress is a bitch or whatever, whatnot too. He opens it all up by saying, "You call it," to Lewis. What does she fucking say? She's too hot and bothered. She might have just fucking changed a tampon and it got in too deep and shit. And she says, "Let's go in." This fucking bitch set him up to be Robocop the whole time. She's the main reason why we get Alex Murphy as Robocop. God damn it! Instead of waiting for backup like they should have, obviously. She says, "Let's go." She killed him, literally. She's the major factor in him becoming Robocop. I'm calling it from right now. But still, she was thinking off emotions. She was riding high off her fucking emotions after that intense fucking chase scene. Literally, they threw a guy at her windshield. So she felt like there was no women present. If they would have thrown a woman at me, I would have been, okay with that. But they're so sexist, they just threw another man to impose their will on me. It's a man's world, deal with it, bitch. And they threw him at the windshield because I think she was driving that time. She's like, "Oh, no. I'm going to show you how strong and powerful a woman I am, honey." And she says, "Let's go," to fucking Murphy, drags him by the fucking hand practically, and they storm in on their own. No fucking backup available whatsoever. They go in. She fucked it all up. On top of that, too, Thinking with the wrong head. They always say we do that as men, right? But she was thinking with the wrong head. Here's proof why. Once they go into the steel mill, what the fuck happens from there? They gotta split up. He goes, let's say west, she goes east. Maybe she sniffed out what she was about to see in a little bit shortly. He's making a round, trying to see who he can creep onto and whatever. She goes this way. She runs up on the fucking one black dude who's got his back turned to her because he's taking a piss in the old steel mill. Why not? You're fucking thinking this thing is abandoned and vacant. Why not take advantage? No one's obviously looking. Just take a quick piss in the corner. As he's taking a piss, she's got to be so rude and, you know, such a fucking little girl almost in her behavior. She's got to blow a bubble with a fucking gum, pop it to get his attention. He turns around because, of course, he's busy pissing in the corner, minding his business otherwise when he's not being a criminal, and tells him to get his hands up. Of course, gets no time to zip his pants up, tuck his fucking BBC back in his pants. He turns around. He's like, can I put this thing away at least? While his hands are up. Now, honestly, listen, we've all watched cops. We've all watched, you know, different police footage, whatever. It doesn't matter, naked, shirt off, pants off, cocks out, cocks hard, whatever. If you're about to detain somebody, you detain them regardless of how they fucking look or how presentable or not they might be. You fucking cuff them, you detain them, that's it. How is she so fucking stupid at this point where he asks, can I put it away at least, with his hands up? She gets tempted like a woman would enough. Locking eyes with him, making direct eye contact like this, to look down enough to fucking look the BBC, the big black cock, up and down because she's fucking entranced by it. She's fascinated. She's like Mowgli in the Jungle Book when the fucking snake comes out of nowhere, starts hypnotizing him slowly. She's envisioning all that in her fucking head. And that split second when she's too fucking obsessed with looking the big black cock up and down because it's never ending almost, that humongous fucking cock of his, he fucking backhands her, takes her down, overpowers her. What'd you fucking expect from a fucking moron like that who says, clearly, wait for backup, give it about 20 minutes or so, you're in the steel mill, it's huge and abandoned, so if you get at least 10 more cops in a paddy wagon and some artillery on you, you can take these guys out. But no, she's like, no, let's go. They threw a man at me, I'm offended, I'm triggered, and I got a trigger on me, let's put it to good use, Murphy, and let's bust in. Yep, she fucked it all up, so he fucks up too. She's not, okay, she's, let's say, like 85% guilty of him becoming a Robocop, because by force. He's, what, 80%, right? Did I say 80, 85? If I said 85, that's 15%. Yeah. Let's say he's 50% guilty. 15, sorry. Guilty for becoming a Robocop too, because also, where he goes is he finds two guys, the redhead and I think, like the white-looking guy, like, not even like the Asian guy. He finds the redheaded guy and the regular, like, you know, soccer dad, white looking guy in the room watching TV and shit. He caps the white guy. He's dead, and shoots the TV just so the redheaded guy can't enjoy himself any further by watching TV while he's getting his, like, Miranda rights, you know, said to him and shit. He fucks up by killing him and leaving the redhead alive. Talking all this shit about fucking waiting for backup and calling for Lewis and shit too. He should have shot him dead. So that was fucking mind games that Murphy was playing of like, I'm going to kill this guy and I'm going to get you shook and make you think I'm going to kill you, but I'm not. I just did that to fucking try to scare you. That's where he fucks up, because instead of Lewis coming in, because she's, you know, getting manhandled by the fucking BBC somewhere else in the corner nestled away at the steel mill, all the other guys come in. They're surrounding him, of course. They're about to shoot him up and everything too, but then no. Clarence, the big boss, comes in, says, nope, don't do it just yet, guys. Gives a whole speech about fucking cops, they're useless, this, that, whatever. All because he had to be too much of a gentleman and be like, all right, we got clear enough orders. We could wait for 20 or so minutes, like we're waiting on a fucking 30 minutes or less Domino's pizza order, and be like, okay, let's wait for backup, then go in. Being too much of a gentleman, asking her what she thinks, she's going off emotions, they go in, now he's stuck, surrounded like a fucking bukkake practically, ready to take it from all angles, except in this case, it's not semen, it's not nut, it's bullets. Clarence sets it off by shooting his fucking hand off. We see visually, like, look at my hand right here in this corner, just gone, like a nub or something like that. Like, that's my hand, that's my arm now, no hand, right? They shoot his hand off. I think he's the one that shot his arm off, or like the rest of the guys were just like tearing him apart with fucking shotguns and whatever too. Blew his fucking left arm off, practically left him with a stub, shooting through his bulletproof vest. He's getting shot up everywhere but his face. And then Clarence, of course, comes in, bang, headshot to presumably kill him. But on top of all that shit too, on top of everything too, the torture he just went through, he's not dead. Because they call in the fucking, the helicopter, ambulance, I guess you call it, whatever. They come in, they fly him in from one part of Detroit to maybe the next part of Detroit, where they got a hospital in the white good part of town in Detroit, to try to save him or salvage what's left of him, if anything, too. They're shocking him back to life. They're trying to fucking patch him together. They're opening him up. They're rearranging the organs like it was operation and shit, seeing what works. Oh, maybe if we put the gallbladder here and move the liver up 2 spots, maybe we can rearrange his shit and bring him back to life. Meanwhile, he's just like staring dead and blank back at them, but he's alive the whole time, so they are trying to save him. But here's the part about the movie that really makes it deeper than what it should have been, and much more compromising than it could have ever been, or really should have been at all. And it's really well done. The editing, the montages, all that. Beautiful, chef's kiss, beautifully done. This is why I enjoy the movie so much and go back to it so often. While he's getting all this shit, it's been done plenty of times afterwards too, I know, like soap operas and like dramatic movies involving surgery, some sort of shit, but there wasn't any need for this to fucking happen, I think, or as well done as it was. As they're like trying to save him, as they're in the background, you know, pass me this, pass me that, open him here, try this, boom, clear, bzzz, whatever. He's getting all the flashbacks. So it's confirming that he wasn't dead at all. He was very well alive, just physically he might as well have been dead. But consciously speaking, at least what he remembers and what he went through, he's still plenty alive. It's just a matter of like, I'm sure all that trauma he took physically like wasn't letting him move or verbalize nothing. He might have been shot in the throat in the middle of it too. While they're taking him apart, while they're trying to salvage him, basically, you know, for body parts or whatever. He's having all the flashbacks of his fucking family, the wife, the kid, all the moments they shared and all that. And then he gets the flashbacks to literally like an hour beforehand, where he's getting shot to death, almost to death. He's not even dead from all that shooting. They was like practicing all the fucking shit possible on him, with shotguns, with fucking snub noses, with like somebody had a Ruger, somebody had a 9mm, whatever. They were shooting at him for like at least 5 minutes, and somehow the guy lived. All he did was like lose his hand, lose his arm, and every vital organ possible had like at least air hissing out of it. It was like no way, not one bullet didn't hit at least every organ possible. But I digress, whatever. While they're doing that shit too, he's having all the flashbacks, getting shot at from his point of view, which is like really well fucking done. And then finally, of course, before they pronounce him dead, after they try to shock him back to life, you got Clarence with the one fucking headshot, bing! Which even then, Clarence sees, they all proved the terrible fucking shooters. Because up close, they're able to fucking hit him every fucking way possible. It's like, but it's almost like the guy that shot 50 Cent 9, 10, 13 times, whatever, and still he couldn't die. Or the one, the biggest defect he got out of it was they shot him through the cheek, and he got the speech defect, like he sounds like he's from the South because of it too. But in return, he got a big career out of it because of his unique fucking sounding ass voice and all that too. But it's crazy. So he's dead after the fact, like from all the trauma, losing all the blood and everything he went through physically. Only from there, only because of all that shit, he dies. Not because of all the fucking bullets, or, you know, I would think he was dead on sight. But no, they carried him via helicopter to the hospital. They tried to salvage him, put him together, but then they announced him dead because they're like, okay, we tried everything. You know, while you were working on literal surgery on the body, we had another doctor here working on the pretend operation surgery thing too, practicing, like reenacting all the shit, like rearranging the organs, and we kept getting buzz, so we failed, obviously. Sorry, he's dead, 6:15, he's dead. We tried everything. Everything possible. But the funny thing is, though, now we go into the fucking origins, the birth, per se, of Robocop, because they took the body for parts, whatever was left over, and they're slapping Robocop together like they was putting the Transformer together, pretty much. Legally dead, because they said 615, like, yeah, we failed. He's dead. Forget it. Never mind. Next body, whatever. So he's legally dead, and apparently because he joined up with the police force of all things in Detroit, apparently, that teaches you not to be a cop in Detroit. They basically owned his body and said, we're going to do what we want with the body. Like Lady Gaga and shit, right? Do what you want with body, and all that. So they take him apart. Surprisingly, he has some of his left arm left, even though the left hand was completely blown off, and like that's the one arm he lost. Bob, the guy that says, you know, I'll have Robocop up and running 90 days or less, says, no, lose the fucking left arm. We gotta make this guy robotic and shit too. So it alludes and confirms that he's not only a righty, but he kept his right human arm the whole time, because they had to rebuild a whole left arm for him to fucking just like put in place like a socket thing. And he's got the whole human right arm, but that's just covered up in fucking armor and Kevlar or whatever else they slapped on him. So yeah, they're putting Robocop together. The visors, the fucking LCD screen or LED screen, whatever, on his fucking visor too, all the parts. So confirmed he's a righty. Because, and that's the odd part too, because I would think throughout the whole time too, he's shooting only with his right arm, right hand, whatever. That's his human arm though. I would think with him being Robocop, mostly robotic, or cyborg, since he's half human, half robot, whatever, they would trust the left arm, the robotic arm, to be the default shooter. But maybe this alludes more to the stigma of people not trusting left-handed individuals like that too. Or they would have made him like ambidextrous, like two guns on both, one on each side. You know, if the right's busy, you know, scratching his robot ass, like the left one's ready to shoot, or kind of thing. Or what if he's got to shoot while driving too, like the left hand steering and then the right? No, that makes no sense. Sorry. So the right one's steering and I don't drive, so forgive me for not knowing. The right hand steering and the left one's out the window shooting and capping everything in sight, and that's the robotic one. So he don't even gotta like aim or look at anything to shoot. He'll just shoot blindly. The arm will bend each way possible to shoot in every direction. But no, they trust the human aspect of him enough to be a righty, because we also see confirmed he's still able to do the twirling gun trick that he used to do for something to impress him, and he's able to fucking put it back in the holster on his right side. So, and the funny thing is too, how do you feed a robot? I never knew that. I thought they just take like WD-40, some oil or some shit too, gas perhaps maybe, but gas prices nowadays. Imagine if we had a Robocop now and we had to fuel him with gas. Oh my God, they'd fucking shut him down immediately, because it'd just be too expensive for the city to afford. But no, instead they develop a system which doesn't really make sense, but basically they make a paste to feed Robocop, and he runs off of that, but almost little to none, where the paste is like baby food almost, as they best describe it. And also, the crazy thing is, he's shooting with his human arm, the right arm, and they trust him to have his own car like immediately on site. Like they toss him the keys, he's able to drive right away, no question. So way before Tesla was able to invent the self-driving cars, they got robots with, cyborgs, half human, half robot. They trust enough to drive our cars better than us, presumably, I guess. Then we cut to a part that really stood out to me, where one of these politicians had lost their re-election, and he decides to take the whole building hostage, including the mayor. Of all things, holding hostages in a whole fucking building. Imagine the first fucking thing you demand like this guy is fresh coffee. Immediately, now, or the mayor fucking gets it right to his fucking head, basically. That's crazy, because I could think of 100,000 things I'd want immediately before fresh coffee if I'm holding someone hostage, God forbid. But that's what he demands. Also, in this part, where he threatens he's about to shoot the mayor, after grabbing him and dragging him towards the window and hold the gun to his head, he's like making all the threats like, stop jerking me off, because I kill people when they jerk me off or something. I'm supposed to jerk myself off. No one knows my left hand better than me. Just ask my dick. Or something like that. Robocop's able to sneak into the building. And this part is so cool, seeing it from way back when, and thinking that this definitely inspired what was later on to be, much later on, the Batman Arkham Asylum City games and shit too. Chef's kiss to those fucking games. They were great. And hopefully they get remade and relaunched, whatever you call it, onto PS4, I guess, and or the Switch. I wouldn't mind the Switch. But there's a part where Robocop punches through the fucking wall behind the guy holding everybody hostage. Oddly enough, with both hands. I would think, why not just punch with, like, let's say he's a righty, right? Punch through it with the right and just headlock him through a wall. But no, he's like, punch right, punch left, tear the wall off quickly, of course, and then just drag him out, pull him out to where he's at in the other hallway, picks him up and just punches him right through the fucking window. He flies right out the window, this fucking guy, but when they show the news broadcast of what happened, this guy could have just jumped out the window himself, because he's like flying out the window, but then when he hits the ground, both his legs are way up high in the air, so he barely fell out of like anything that would have killed him. I think the point wasn't to kill him, just detain him. But it looked like the whole building surrounded by paddy wagons, a SWAT team, whoever else I think there was a tank as well too. They really could have just crept into the fucking first floor window, just dragged them out too at some point. But, you know, whatever. Also, the criminals under Clarence, I don't know. They make me think sometimes they were kind of that stupid or that inept, or let alone that bad a shot, as we've seen earlier. Up close, they can hit you. Not enough to kill you, but enough to hit you. Almost enough to hit you. A lot of them seem so stupid that I think Alex Murphy, the human before Robocop, could have taken them all out one by one with the greatest of ease, or at least just outthinking them on the spot. Because when he starts trying to drag everybody, chase everyone down, and see who they work for, where they're from, and all that shit too, after he pulls up all their fucking files and archives, the one guy he finds in the club and is able to track down in the middle of the dance floor, dancing with bitches and shit too, not only does he slap his gun out of his hand or something like that, but a really funny part, he slaps the gun out of the guy's hand. He tries to shoot a robot, obviously. The gun lands in like one of the club going like hipster girls' hands, and they're like just thinking nothing of, and they're just dancing and shit like it was a glow stick with a fully loaded gun in their hand. They just keep dancing. They got to keep the beat. It's hard for white people to do that, you know. You didn't hear that from me, but you know, that's what it is. The guy turns around, tries to kick a robot in the nuts, hurts himself, probably fractures the fucking femur bone, shin bone, whatever. Believe me, if you know, you know, that shit hurts so bad when you do it to yourself. So imagine like that meme of like when you accidentally kick like the edge of the bed and there's a metal frame, times 100, kicking a fucking robot in its presumed nuts. I mean, we weren't gender identifying back when in 1987, but I would think, well, he stereotyped the robot thinking, okay, I'm just going to kick it real quick in the fucking robot nuts. Because somebody who developed a robotic fucking police officer is going to really spend a whole day or weekend working on the robotic prosthetic nutsack or cock that this robot cop's going to have. Because they're worried about the cop having a private life and fucking on its downtime when it's charging its battery pack too. We gotta be considerate of how it wants to mate and reproduce, even if all it does is bust like WD-40 out of its robot cock. That's what they're so worried about. So this fucking bonehead really thought that shit, so of course he hurts himself, and on top of that he embarrassed himself in front of the whole fucking club and gets arrested on top of that too. And he's made the snitch because he beat himself up and hurt himself like that. All the other guys too, later on we'll see in the movie, they can't shoot for shit from long distance, even with this high-tech army level fucking type weaponry they got a hold of to deal with one robot cop. But okay, whatever. And I think again, Alex Murphy could have taken them all down with guns or without. Even easier without guns. It was just straight up fucking hand-to-hand shit, probably no question. With guns, even still, just fucking outsmart them real quick. But then also, fucking afterwards, there's a part where finally he gets all the deets he needs to and everybody too. He's able to track down Clarence in the fucking like cocaine factory, distributor, whatever. Kills everybody basically. He's trying to shoot at him. No question. No fucking duh. He was gonna do that. Finally gets his hands on Clarence. starts beating him to shit, beating the living piss out of him. So it makes you think, if you're getting beat up by a fucking robot cop, a cyborg / human police officer, wouldn't you snitch? Wouldn't you just immediately give up all the fucking deeds possible and be like, you know what? I'm losing this battle. Where am I going to hit him that fucking hurts? How am I going to outsmart a pre-programmed fucking walking Wikipedia that's going to kill me in every way possible if I like try to defend myself? Yeah, I'm going to fucking sing the blues as far as like every deed you need possible. Tell me what you need to know. I'll tell you the fucking social security number if I know it too, at least the last four or something like that. I think anybody was fucking snitch if you're getting beat up by Robocop of all things. Which also makes you think that Robocop's on patrol. You can see a human mouth, chin, lips, whatever. That's the only part visible as far as the human aspect of Robocop's concerned. That works, and that's scary enough because it makes you think, oh shit, what part of him besides his fucking face, obviously his mouth area, is human? Does he have a cock or something like that? Can I kick him in the balls? That's probably what the guy in the dance club was thinking that whole time too. Oh, he's got to have fucking real balls underneath there too. He's just got like metallic underwear or something. If I kick hard enough too, I could probably bust right through and kick the human part of him that's still intact, his nuts or whatever. But then in that case, you really start to think ED-209, the big ass walking robot, really would have been the perfect fucking robot, or robot cop, better yet said. Because again, machine gun turrets, heat-seeking missiles, knows enough to verbally communicate with you as far as your rights and how long you got to live, basically, until it blasts you to fucking death. But later on we'll see in the movie, when you watch it of course, is that it can't walk down a simple flight of stairs. So this thing would have been terrible to commission to patrol like the projects, because imagine it having to go up or let alone down the stairs, because after he beats the shit out of Clarence almost to death, he wants to kill him, but then his primary objectives, I think the third one says he has to uphold the law as an officer, so he can't kill him. Almost kills him, almost chokes him to death, but just short of, he has to fucking pull out basically. So he blue balled Clarence into fucking thinking he was dying, because Clarence is like so sick and sadistic and twisted and fucking blowing guys up with grenades in their fucking living rooms, just having fun with hookers and cocaine and shit. He's probably into BDM, SEM, whatever the fuck you call that shit too. So him getting choked out is probably like another Tuesday night for him, basically. But he gives up the deeds. I work for Dick Jones, you big cocksucker. That's my boss. He's the one that's got the cops on payroll and shit. So basically, he's the boss. He goes to Dick Jones in his fucking office at the headquarters of OCP to confront him and be like, okay, give up the deets. What are you doing? You're trying to make me look like a robot cuck, all that too. As he proceeds to try to arrest Dick Jones, we find out the last objective that was hidden or classified in the system, which is you cannot detain an OCP higher up. Basically, in this case, I'm untouchable. We pre-programmed that into your robot fucking head. So if you ever get the nuts to try to arrest me, fool is you, because you will start to fucking shut down. And he's trying to fight it off as far as like getting shut down or like, you know, being decommissioned, whatever. And then he sicks ED-209 on him, the one he's got on reserve, the one that probably killed the guy but like had his motherboard ripped out. So there's a whole fight in the building, Robocop versus ED-209. Mind you, Robocop's pretty intact at this point, but ED-209 does a fucking huge number on it as far as being able to fuck him up. Because of course, much bigger, presumably much faster, machine guns, missiles, all this other shit on him too, compared to Robocop, which is like, you know, pretty strong, but pretty much has like a never-ending, as far as ammo is concerned, pistol, which is like an automatic pistol, just never stops shooting. Also, where the fuck do they keep the bullets? Where do cops keep their bullets, actually? How many bullets are like police officers allowed to have on them, actually? Because where would they hold the extra rounds of ammo? How many do they have in a chamber on a pistol when they're, you know, on the job and shit too? Huh. I'd have to ask a cop that, just to be curious. So then where did Robocop have his fucking extra ammo at? Because that fucking pistol would never run out of fucking bullets. It would just keep shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting, just eating up shells the whole time. But I digress. So Obviously, he tries to shoot the thing. I think the pistol got knocked out of his hand, so he's left to fight, hand to like machine guns with the fucking thing. This thing's making fucking light work of Robocop, tossing him around and shit, kicking him around, all that too. At some point, he's gonna straight up just shoot him in the face, but he's able to overpower the shit and have it shoot the wall instead. He's able to run away. This fucking ED-2092, even though it's got missiles on it, has like terrible aim because he's showing like 2-3 at him, dead on, like 10 feet away from him, but misses him with every single one. Robocop don't even think of like the stairs could be the best thing in my favor. He just happens to like be so desperate to run away from this thing. He runs down the stairs because he's able to as a robotic cop. But this fucking thing can't do that. All the fucking artillery, all the fucking technology put into it, the millions of dollars, and they didn't think, what if this thing has to go down the stairs and this thing's fucking scared, it's crying like a chicken or something like that, about to get plucked, like tiptoeing on the stairs, and then when it finally commits to going down one stair, it just stumbles down, and that's how he's able to run away from the fucking thing. But at the very bottom of the office, there's a whole police force practically of old Detroit that got the order from Dick Jones of like, okay, on site, you gotta pop off on Robocop. Even though bullets won't do shit to him, enough might be able to damage him, hopefully. Which they do. They fucking unload. They unload. They're trying to shoot his ass. Lewis is there to pick his ass up, take him to the old steel mill, kind of help him recover. Fast cut over to the steel mill scene, the second one, and towards the end of the movie already. So, but they're there the whole time now, Murphy and fucking Lewis, because the whole city went to shit. Everybody's fucking just obsessed with doing crime and all that too. The bad guys got the whole tracking system of Robocop, so they make their way over to the steel mill after they stock up on these fucking I would think if you're going up against a robot and you're able to develop a robotic cop, an ED-209, a big ass robotic chicken practically too, why wouldn't you have like lasers on deck? Or some, I don't know, grenade launchers or something. Everything's fucking bullets. Everything's fucking big ass guns, like bigger than the guys carrying them too. They stock up on that shit. They get it from Dick Jones, and they're ready to go to war with Robocop now. Try to deprogram his ass and just shut him down completely. They make it over to the steel mill. Again, this is where the guys prove they're terrible shots. Up close, they can do okay because who can really miss up close 5 feet away from your human body like that? But they prove when they're trying to take shots at Robocop, standing over them at a fucking like walkway in the steel mill, they're taking all the shots possible. They're missing, and he makes light work with one fucking an automatic pistol, sure, with never-ending bullets, like a video game almost. But he's able to fucking kill. Of course, the black guy has to die first, unfortunately. He gets shot easily, bing, 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 on sight. The white guy behind him, of course, has to use him as a body shield once he's dead already, to deflect the shots from Robocop of all things. He's able to make his way around them. He's able to fucking fake them out. The red-headed guy, I think his name was Emil. So of course he led a life of crime, because with a pussy name like Emil and being a redhead, I would think there's nothing left for me to do but just go to jail, live a life of crime, and try to be a badass like that too. Lives through fucking what he lived through first. Almost getting shot at in the steel mill at first. He escaped death that way. There was a whole part where he tells Robocop, like, I know you, we killed you, you're dead, whatever, at the gas station. Sets him on fire. No damage done to Robocop. Robocop's able to shoot his fucking tire and tank out from his motorcycle. Has a nasty fucking accident running into a parked car of all things. Gets dragged across the street like 50 feet at least and somehow ain't dead. Makes it through all that shit possible just to live enough to see himself crash headfirst into a big old banister of toxic waste, come out of it, and just get turned into like the Toxic Avenger, if you remember that movie from back when. Like a mutant practically melting on one side, sort of intact on the other, but just like never be the same again. Like Carl Thomas, never be the same again. Wasn't that the one he did with Ghostface? The things what you do for love. Yeah, that's from Bulletproof Wallets. That not so good album from Ghostface, but yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one where Ghostface sounds like he's almost gonna cry because the bitch was cheating on him so much, and he's like, basically, I'll never be the same again because that's how you did me dirty, whatever, you goddamn chicken. I digress, I'm sorry. So the redhead lives through all that shit just to become a mutant literally after that shit. No Wolverine, nothing. So then afterwards, and he gets ran over by Clarence's own boss because he's so freaked out by a mutant in the middle of the road in the steel mill. So he gets turned to mush on sight, explodes when he gets hit with the car. He's dead. They finally get the one good idea to dump all this steel shit on top of Robocop by this crane on site to try to deter him from killing any more, or like putting an end to the criminal reign. That one guy eats shit afterwards because, of course, the person that's supposed to be able to shoot precisely, Officer Lewis, is able to take one of them big ass guns and just blow him off this fucking planet basically with one shot from those super guns they got. Takes that white guy out. He's dead. Robocop's laying there underneath a pile of fucking metal scraps, and then Clarence is basically trying to like stab through him, and he does stab through his robotic thing, which you think steel and whatever else they made him of, and Kevlar, of all things, like a steel, not a steel pipe, but like a steel rod, a rusty steel pot on top of that, is able to just like penetrate right through his robotic heart, I'm assuming. I don't know if they salvaged the heart, if that made it through the whole ordeal at the steel mill when they shot his ass up, but he's doing that. Robocop finally realizes he should have been killing him a long time ago, or like his whole, CPU got fucked up, so then finally takes a spike out of his hand and drives it through his neck. And then we get the next really fucking bloody scene, which is basically, it looks like he threw a blood through the side of his neck. It's just like a big plop right on top of Robocop. He turns from fucking silver to like burgundy because of all the blood covering him now. He drops dead, of course. Now finally they suit up. They go back to fucking OCP to confront Dick Jones, of all things, as he's making a new presentation for his full line, army apparently, of ED-209s, ready to fucking go patrol the city immediately for Delta City's sake. He busted in the middle of the fucking board meeting. He's got the evidence to put into the footage to show like, hey, this guy killed Bob, blew him this fucking smithereens, self-made confessional tape footage. Dick Jones decides to take the old man hostage and say, anybody fucking come close, I'm blowing the old geezer's head off. I need a helicopter on site now. The old man knows the primary objective, that Robocop cannot harm and or even let alone arrest or look funny at someone OCP higher up. He gives the immediate order of, Dick, you're fired. Or what do you say? You're fired, Dick. Immediately, Robocop's wiped of the last objective, is able to shoot him up, blast him out the fucking window. We get the funny ass little special effects part of like how everybody picks up on this, of course, too. How could you not? It's right in front of your fucking face. When the guy falls out the window, his arms are like really stretched, like almost noodle long when he falls out. Then again, it's 1987. You gotta admit they did a really good job with like ED-209 and like everything else they've done special effects wise. I think we can forgive him for the one guy falling out the window, which they really didn't have to show that part if that was the case, or to kind of salvage them. But like if I was like, let's say, proofreading the last cut before it makes it to theaters, I would have been like, you know what, guys, take that part out where we show him falling out the window and his like arms do that weird thing where they're all like stretched out. It kind of makes us look stupid, because up until now everything does look believable. That's the one part that makes everything look like, you know what, in like 10 years this is going to be embarrassing kind of thing. But it doesn't age well, that part. But you know what? It's okay. We can forgive it up until now. Everything we've got up until this point. So finally, the head guy, the big cheese, the OG of the fucking OCP corporation, dusts himself off, looks at Murphy and is like, it's nice shooting, son. What's your name? And of course we cut right before the credits. Stops, turns around, no visor on. He's like, Murphy. And then dun 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 dun. You know the score already by now. It's a pretty epic score. But yeah, listen. That's Robocop basically in a nutshell. Well, as short as I try to make it, basically. I'm being honest in that sense. Always a fun time watching this. I thoroughly enjoy it. I always have fun watching this thing. As many times as I have up until now. It's not like so much where I know the dialogue, I know my parts and all that too. Not like that, obviously, but more of I never get bored and or tired of this movie. Even with my girlfriend, Russian born and raised, so I guess she's used to that ultra violence, whatever. Even she loves the movie. She'll sit and watch it with me, you know, beginning, middle, end, wherever we hop into it. So it's really enjoyable because, again, the whole point is, yes, it's bloody, yes, it's graphic, yes, it deserves and well earns its R rating, which I'm sure, I'm guessing it might have been in the realm of like Scarface, where Scarface originally had like the X rating, or I don't think they had NC-17 back then. I think they had X, then R, then everything else. Scarface had the X rating because it was just like too much for one fucking movie. It was like way too violent. They trimmed it down to where it got the R rating to make it in the theaters, because otherwise it would have been a failure. We wouldn't even remember Scarface like that. I'm pretty sure Robocop might have had an X rating at first. Then they screen it and they're like, you know what, this is way too much, X rating automatically. And because they wanted it to make theaters, all right, fine, we'll compromise, we'll tone it down, we'll take this part out, whatever, whatever. Then we got the theater version, and then much later after the fact, on DVD, on Blu-ray, they stuck on the fucking unrated original cut, whatever, whatever. Surprisingly, because of how ultra-violent it could be deemed to be, I wouldn't have been surprised if, let's say, had it not been good, had it not been as well written, funny, endearing, charming, delightful as it is throughout the whole time. Mind you, like an hour and 40-something minutes, but still enjoyable. Like, I feel like it goes by too quick, if anything, too. There's no slow points. It doesn't drop off or nothing either. It could have easily been something like on Sci-Fi, like a horror flick that just no one gives a shit about, or we just like, unless you're obsessed with purposely bad movies, that's the only time Robocop comes into conversation. No. Robocop is well acted, well written, funny when it wants to be, not when it needs to be, no desperate need in like sticking in corny jokes or nothing. It's legit funny when it wants to be. So it works. It shouldn't have ideally, but it does. And the fact that it does, and it's that and then some, it's a fucking great movie. I can't give this thing anything less than, out of 2 years possible, highest score possible, I gotta give this thing a 2 years out of 2 score. Right here for Who This Been Watching. Episode 53, Robocop 35th Anniversary Review. Of course we're gonna fucking give Robocop 2 years out of 2, god damn it. Because it's what it deserves. Great movie. I enjoyed every time I watch it. It's really a fun time. I'll go back to it who knows how soon from now, but I'll definitely be going back to it before the year's over.